Hello, everyone. Welcome to GA's Tea Time. We discuss all things General Hospital. If you haven't already, please hit the bell notification. The like and subscribe really helps the channel. And I want to send a special thank you for everybody that has already subscribed. So, guys, let's get our teacups, let's get our snacks, and let's get ready to discuss our favorite characters. General Hospital Daily Recap, Thursday, February 26, 2026. We had some folks in this episode. We had some Alexis Sidwell, Willow, Trina, Isaiah. It was a bunch of folks. So let's see what our favorite characters are up to. Willow was checking in on Drew, and Drew was sitting in the bed sleeping, or supposed sleeping. So Willow was just looking over him, looking concerned. I don't know if she's concerned because she's scared he might get up out of that bed, or she's just concerned about just whatever. But anyway, she's just looking over him, and Drew was actually pretending to be asleep because when she left the room, his eyes open. So Willow went and opened the door, and it was Sidwell, right? So Sidwell's there, and with that creepy smile that he always got on his face. And he's all like, hello, and coming in to talk to Willow. So Willow's like, I'm glad you're here because I'm going to tell you I don't think I'm going to be able to run for Congress. This is not the right time. You know, the kids are still getting acclimated to being with me. And she went told about how Wiley was upset about he couldn't sleep, and Amelia, she was upset about her shoes, and Sidwell was trying to cut her off, and Willow was just spewing excuses why she couldn't do this. And then all of a sudden, Sybil just screamed at her and basically was telling her, listen, you're doing this. So Willow was kind of taken aback a little bit. And finally, Sybil kind of gave her different reasons why plus him just saying you're going to do it. He was also telling her, you know, this is going to give you power so that you can keep your kids. So Willow got quiet. She knew she didn't have no choice. She's running for Congress. Her mother comes in. Nina comes over, and she sees Sidwell there. And she kind of gives Sidwell like a side eye because everybody knows Sidwell is a bad guy. But Sidwell didn't say why he was there. He didn't say he was the one that's telling Willow that she got to run for Congress. He said he came there to check on Drew. So Willow said, you know what, she told Nina. Nina was happy. Oh my goodness, I'm glad you run for Congress, whatever. And then Willow went to go get ready. She gets ready. She comes out. She's like, she's going to the press conference. And Sidwell said, you know what? Y'all guys go to the, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to go check in on Drew. That's what I came here for. So Sidwell goes in and checks in on Drew. And Drew starts blinking. He's doing his old blink, 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 blink. Sidwell is messed up. Sidwell was like, what are you saying? Is that SOS? He was just started to be like he was going to help Drew. And then he was just like, yeah, no. He's just like, I know what's going on. He was like, you think that your wife was able to pull this off on her own? He's like, he basically offered Willow that stuff that she's injecting Drew with. So he wanted Drew out of the picture. I remember back a few months ago, he was talking about killing Drew. So I guess this was the second best choice. So he was like, he gave Willow the medication that she's pumping him with to make him have that he can't move around syndrome. He was like, the people that's watching over him, those caregivers that Willow got in the house, are paid for by Sidwell. So that's why they're ignoring his pleas when he be trying to alert them to stuff. He was like, basically, he did this because he knew Willow would be a good candidate for like a sympathy candidate because if he was out of commission, and that he was tired of Drew because Drew messed up, and especially when he had that outburst at the court, he knew Drew had to go, right? So he needed somebody better that could get his stuff done. So he told Drew, listen, you know what would be even better than just having somebody, you know, like her sick husband, if her husband was not here anymore, like if he offed him. So Drew was just looking like, what? Now he realizes this rabbit hole is really deep. And Sewell made a good point when he said, you know what, as nasty as you were to these people in town, he don't really have to worry about people coming over to visit because ain't nobody thinking about Drew. So Drew is in trouble. So I don't know how Drew gonna get out of this if he ever gets out of it. To me, I feel like he could just stay there, all that nastiness he's been doing to folks. But I'm sure somebody's gonna find him or find out what's going on. But Sidwell is in the mix, so that's why Willow knows that she cannot say no to Sidwell. Whatever he asks for, she has to do because she is underneath his thumb like everybody else. Jason came over to Sonny's to give him a rundown that he met with Cullum. And so Sonny was like, well, how was that? And he was like, yeah, no, this guy's a bad dude, right? So he was kind of going over, he was asking him about the fire poppies, but he didn't give him any explanation. He told him that Brennan doesn't trust Cullum, and that, what's really bad is that Cullum has access to be able to cover up all of Sidwell's crimes, right? So he can just get up into the government, the PCPD, wherever he has to cover up. Cullum can cover that stuff up for Sidwell, which gives Sidwell ultimate power. So Jason is now like, he wanted to wait to get rid of Cullum, but he was kind of like, no, we need to do that like now, like ASAP. So Sonny and him was discussing that, but Jason was telling Sonny, we do have a plan, because the reason why he didn't want to get rid of Cullum right away was because of Britt's medication. But he was telling him now that Lucas is involved, Lucas can probably help them get that medication faster, and they can get rid of Cullum faster. Sonny was just like, well, Lucas, it doesn't understand what kind of danger he's in, but but they're willing to use Lucas if needed to get that medication so they can hurry up and get rid of Cullum faster. And then they just kind of discussed some various other issues. Portia and Isaiah. So Portia and Isaiah, I actually like them as a couple. I like that Portia seems more calm around this man, because she was getting on my nerve with Curtis. She's just so frantic all the time. Anyway, Isaiah came in to check in on Portia, and he was just making sure she had something to eat and that she was taking care of herself and stuff like that. And then they did get into a conversation about how fast their relationship was moving, because he was kind of like, you just moved in. We didn't have no in between. And Portia was asking him, is he okay with that? And I guess he was asking Portia the same thing. But Portia was like, no, I don't regret anything. She enjoys being with him and their relationship. She did say that she was hoping that Trina would be in a better relationship with her, but more receptive to talking to her, because she found out the baby is Curtis's. But she was like, even now, Trina is not talking to her, which I'm like, Trina need to be an adult and cut this out. But anyway, Portia's just really upset because Trina's still not talking to her. Kai and Trina were talking, and Kai was kind of just like, I don't know. They talking about replacing Drew C. He was like, I may not have a job soon. They're probably going to hire somebody else. Trina was like, well, you should wait and see, because you said you're so great at your job. The next person might hire you or keep you on or whatever. They really need to do something with Kai. They make him so boring. But anyway, him and Trina got into a conversation about her mother. She was like, oh, I accidentally dialed my mother. And Kai was kind of like, how did you accidentally dial your mother? The phone number would have had to been on top for you to accidentally dial her. And she was like, well, she was thinking about calling her, but she didn't, then she changed her mind. And she was like, my mother stayed with the person that she cheated with, and I don't want to talk to her. And I'm just like, what? Your mother is 50 something years old. I mean, come on. She's decided to stay with this man. That's her business. But whatever. She's not 3. I wish they would stop writing Trina like this. It's crazy. Kai made some sense. Kai was just like, well, your father has moved on to Jordan. And let me tell you something. If their marriage was so tight, Curtis wouldn't have been able to move on to Jordan so fast. Even if you want to believe that your mother cheated, which she didn't, because they had came to a decision that their marriage was over, but I guess we going with she cheated. But yeah, Curtis moved on really quickly. I mean, it was no kind of hesitation. So Kai was right on that aspect. Isaiah's at the door. So he's like, can I talk to you for a minute? At first, Trina was trying to close the door on him. I'm like, how old is Trina? I think Trina got to be about 3, 24. She's old enough not to be doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, Isaiah came in and he was talking to Trina. And, at first Trina was like really going at him. And she was like, oh, she stayed with you. She cheated on my father and all this nonsense stuff. But then at the end, Isaiah was like, why you keep trying to make your mother pay? And then Trina's like, no, I'm not, kind of on the defense. But he was like, you just kind of seem like you want your mother alone. You're not gonna be happy until she's alone. She was like, well, I don't want her to be alone. Hello, let's end this. Okay, you may not like Isaiah. I'm not even saying she gotta like Isaiah. I'm just saying the way she's going about this is Curtis, Isaiah, Jordan, and Portia's business. Trina could feel for her parents, but all of this extra stuff needs to stop. I guess Isaiah words got to her because Trina went over to see her mother, and she said, you know, she knocked on the door and she was like, "Mom," and they was just looking at each other. So I'm guess the conversation will continue tomorrow, but hopefully, Trina will start acting her age and she can have a real conversation with her mother. Because I have to say, the conversation that she had with Isaiah was a grown-up conversation. It wasn't her. She at first she a little stomped her feet, had a little temper tantrum, but she did talk to him, and he talked to her like she was an adult. So hopefully she will talk to her mother like she's an adult and not act like she's 5, and they can get some kind of understanding with each other. Yay, Diane is back. So it looks like Diane is on the mend. She's up out of that chair. She was telling Alexis that she's back to work. So Alexis is happy, but Alexis was also telling her, listen, you're going to see less of me because I'm going to be running for Congress. So she was telling Diane how Laura asked her to step into Drew's seat. She asked Diane for some help because she was like, she know the press is going to be asking questions about her past. So Diane and her were going over the questions and just kind of going at it to see how they are going to tackle the press. So Diane was really happy for her, and they just kept on going to see how they were going to handle things. Diane told Alexis, you know, you're going to have to call Sonny, right? So Alexis called Sonny and she said, listen, I'm going to be running for Congress. So Sonny was like, you sure about this? She was like, yeah, but remember, if the press calls, we share a daughter. We don't share anything else. So Sonny was like, no, I got you. I understand. And, you know, so they came to an understanding on that. She hung up the phone and her and Diane got back to their prep. Sonny was talking to Jason, and he said to Jason, I think Laura made a bad call on this because he knows that Sidwell has all of that information on Laura. And he's like, Sidwell ain't gonna want somebody like Alexis in that office. So, because Alexis thinks for herself, she's not gonna be a pushover like Willow. And then Willow owes Sidwell stuff, so she gotta listen to him. So, yeah, Sonny was running down to Jason, kind of like, if Alexis gets that seat, she's going to see that Laura is some kind of business with Sidwell, right, as things progress. So she was like, Laura probably is going to have to change this, but she knows Laura puts the people before anything else. This is why he was just like, I hope she makes the right decision. Ezra was talking to Laura, right? And he was telling her, Sidwell has a candidate he wants you to endorse. It's Willow. So Laura was like, I'm not endorsing Willow. She was like, what is she, a nurse? She was like, she don't have no credentials to do any of this kind of stuff. So Ezra was kind of telling her, listen, it don't matter. This is what he wants. Now, Ezra is irritating, right? We know he's not a good dude or whatever, but he is on point when it comes to Sidwell. He was like, this guy got something on all of us. He's like, basically, you have to do what he says, or he's going to do something to you. And I get it. Laura wants to stand on her moral grounds and stuff like that. But she got to hold out for 5 more minutes because he still has all of that evidence that makes her look really, really guilty. So Laura was kind of like, I don't care what Sidwell wants. I'm going to do what I want. I'm not endorsing Willow. Laura's at the press conference and she's going to give this press conference that has been moved up in time because Sidwell moved the time up. So Laura's there and she's like, okay, I want to endorse our new candidate. It's Willow. So Alexis is watching this from her office. First, she didn't know that the press conference was moved up. So she was shocked about that because she's like, I'm not there. And then her and Diana watching and they're like, what? What just happened? So Sonny and Jason are watching too. And Sonny is like, I guess Sidwell beat Laura off at the path. Like he just blindsided her, brought Willow there, and let her start giving this speech. So Laura really didn't have a choice. She wouldn't have had a choice anyway. She would have still had to do this regardless. But Willow is in motion for being Congresswoman. But Willow, Laura, Ezra, all of these people underneath Sidwell's thumb. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get out of this, but hopefully they can get out of it soon because keep doing his bidding is just crazy. All right, guys. So what did you like about this episode? What do you feel about Willow being the next Congresswoman? What about the reveal of Sidwell being involved in the mix of all of Willow's plans? I think that was, you know, she was trying to act like she was independent, and then she asked the worst of the worst for help. That is so crazy. All right. But let me know what you know, thinking down in the comment section. And so guys, that was the end of the episode. If you haven't already, hit the bell notification. I upload a daily recap every day.
So you don't want to miss those. They are fun. We talk about everything that happened on the episode. And I also put some extra stuff in there. So we do some quizzes and some polls and some who's leaving. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So you don't want to miss any of that. And if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. And I want to thank you for joining us at GA's Tea Time. See you next time. Bye.